All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and coming up on the docket for today's show, 49ers draft rumors. Will San Francisco trade up in the 2024 NFL Draft? Currently, San Francisco slotted with the 31st overall pick, but will they maneuver up the draft board? And with that, we'll take a look at some trade-up targets. First, make sure you subscribe to the show. If you want Niners shows every single day that are informative, insightful, entertaining, that involve you, the viewer, and you, the subscriber, make sure you lock us in as we close in on 132,000 subscribers. Why would San Francisco trade up? Let's start with that question. Let's answer it, and let's set the foundation here and set the table. The 49ers have the picks to matriculate up the draft board if they so please to do that. And these compensatory picks that the Niners have been able to rack up in recent years, it gives this front office, it gives this organization a lot of flexibility to move up the draft board. And by doing that, you can pick a high-level player, an impact player, a plug-and-play guy who can impact the team that has Super Bowl aspirations right from the jump. ESPN has listed the Niners as a prime trade-up candidate for all of the reasons that we talked about. They have those bevy of picks, and they don't really want a developmental project. It doesn't make sense for their timeline right now. Niners also have a deep and talented roster, and that plug-and-play rookie starter at right guard, at right tackle, improves the team in 2024 compared to last year in 2023. Cornerback, another position that could potentially do that as well. Bill Barnwell, ESPN, saying this: the 49ers have lost a few players this offseason, but this is still one of the deeper rosters in football. General manager John Lynch also has 2 extra 4th rounders and an extra 6th rounder to play around with if he wants to make a small move up the board. After what went down in the Super Bowl, trying to jump ahead of the pack for a cornerback could make some sense, although that is not a position this regime has typically valued at a high level in the draft. So the draft capital is there for San Francisco, and moving up the draft board can sometimes depend on how the board in front of the Niners falls. And I think that this draft, it's really going to start with how many quarterbacks are taken in the top 5, but also in the first round. Because if Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, and then one of Michael Penix or Bo Nix go in the first round, what does that essentially do in turn? It slides those other good players down the draft, which then thus allows a team to say, okay, we thought that player was going to be selected, let's say at number 15. Now they're at number 18. We can move up a few spots to take that player that we really covet. As for the 49ers 2024 NFL draft picks, this is the ammunition that I'm talking about here. The Niners are on the clock first at 31st overall, as I noted. Then they have a second-round pick at 63 toward the end of that second round. They have a third-round pick, 94th overall. They get that fourth-round selection from the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for Trey Lance. Round 4, 132 is a compensatory pick. They have their own selection in the 4th at 135 a couple of picks later. And then 3 compensatory picks. Round 5, 176. Round 6, 211. Round 6, 215. And then their final pick, round 7, pick 251. The positions that the Niners could go in the first round if they stay put at number 31 or if they decide to move up in the draft. Offensive line, I think, is the biggest area of weakness for this team, and they have multiple areas of need in the offensive trenches. Offensive tackle at right tackle specifically, guard and center. At some point, they need to start planning ahead, and they need to stack up that position. Cornerback, opposite of Charvarius Ward, but keep this in mind. Ward, Deommodore Lenoir, they are going to be free agents after the 2024 season. So you might want to find that young gem, that young impact player who is going to be an impact player for the foreseeable future. You need to start stacking some defensive tackle depth after getting rid of Eric Armstead, but after Malik Collins, the Armstead replacement, after Javon Hargrave, you don't have any young players other than Kalia Davis, who's been injured a lot. Edge rusher opposite of Nick Bosa. You sign Leonard Floyd, but that's a short-term project there. Or lastly, you could just go best player available. For instance, if Brock Bowers is there at 20, 21, 22, and you think that he's a generational tight end, because that's what I think, and you want to start planning ahead for the post-George Kittle days, but get a player who impacts your football club this upcoming season with some 2 tight end sets, that can make sense too. With that, this is today's poll question, and it's our pinned comment here. Which position would you trade up for if you're the San Francisco 49ers? For me, it's offensive line in the first round, and there's a lot of really good ones in the 2024 draft. Coming up next, just around the corner, we're going to take a look at some players that the Niners could trade up for at those aforementioned positions. You want to learn? You want to be informed? Then keep rocking with us. You want to save money? Go into a sporting event, a concert, comedy show, or a theater event? You do it with the Game Time app. Best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. And with the Game Time app, you can get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And with 2 taps on your phone, you'll score tickets quickly and without the hassle. You can skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. And I always am a believer that you want to live it up. We have one life to live. You have to maximize it. Being able to put together some special memories going to a Niner game, a Golden State Warriors game, because there are tickets available for some Dubs games, or a San Francisco Giants game. Whatever you want, I'm a firm believer that the investment is certainly worth it. But we can help your investment, because if you use the code CHATSPORTS, you can get $20 off. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all things sports, comedy, music, and theater. They believe that the impromptu moments in life lead to incredible shared experiences, so they built a ticket marketplace that makes it faster and easier to get into your favorite events at a moment's notice. You can also be informed and just get the total price with Game Time and not get hit with some of those crazy fees later on in the process. $20 off. Use the code CHATSPORTS. All of this information is down below in the show notes of this video. As for some trade-up targets here, players who San Francisco could trade up for in the NFL draft, as I said, I want to take a look at all of these players position by position. Some offensive linemen who are worthy moving up for. Talius Fuanga, who's a tackle prospect out of Oregon State, who I absolutely love. Troy Fautanu, who can play tackle, he can play guard. Scheme familiarity with what Kyle Shanahan likes to do. Stellar player for Washington. Amarius Mims, very limited college experience with only 8 starts, but has the prototypical perennial Pro Bowl size at the tackle spot. Tyler Guyton, a little bit more experience, 10 starts this past year for Oklahoma, a player who Trent Williams has really endorsed. And the best interior offensive line prospect, definitely the best center, I think, in this draft class, is Jackson Powers Johnson. But if your board falls differently, if the Niners' board falls differently, Graham Barton out of Duke, cerebral player who's tough, physical, very experienced. He's also versatile. He could play offensive tackle, which he did at Duke. He could play guard. He can also play center. When you go to Duke, you also have to have some brains. I love this player. Really enjoyed interviewing him at the NFL Scouting Combine. I think he's going to be a really good player for the next 10 years. Chad Reuter, this is interesting, of NFL Network, does have the San Francisco 49ers trading up for Talius Fuanga. He said, I believe one of the top offensive tackles will drop outside of the top 20, and his incomplete workout numbers, along with some teams projecting him as a guard, might make him the odd man out. Miami needs mid-round picks, so the Niners send late 3rd and 4th round selections, getting back a 6th-round pick in exchange to secure an immediate starter on the right side of the line. So this is a player who could fill in at right guard. I think he's a tackle at the next level, though, and I frankly thought the testing numbers at the NFL Combine were really good. I think he's going to be a very solid player who has that nasty streak. He can pancake guys. He also has scheme familiarity. We've talked about that on the show. Pro Football Focus numbers in 2023, overall grade of 88.2. No sacks allowed last year for the Beavers at Oregon State. Only 2 hits, 10 hurries, 8 penalties. And I think that he would improve this offensive line instantly. And that ties back to the theme that I was talking about a little bit earlier. The thought process in trading up for a player is to not get a developmental piece if you're the San Francisco 49ers. Best player on the board, who helps you the most right away, who moves the needle for 2024. Cornerback trade-up targets. Not all of these players are going to be selected by the time the Niners draft at 31, so they could decide to stand pat at 31 overall in hopes that they could get one of the 5 players on your screen here. Quinion Mitchell, dog out of Toledo, Terrion Arnold, very good ball skills, very good speed out of Alabama. Kool-Aid McKinstry has so much swagger. Nate Wiggins, 4.3 40-yard dash guy. And Cooper DeJean broke his leg at the end of the year for Iowa. He just had his pro day on Monday, though. He impressed a lot of people. Earned a relative athletic score grade of 9.89 on a scale of 0 to 10. He stands at 6 foot, 203 pounds. His vertical leap, very, very good. His 40-yard dash, able to clock a 4.43. We've talked with some people here, and we've also had some conversations at Chat Sports. The Trent McDuffie comps, that's something that Jack Sperry, one of our great NFL draft analysts, threw out there. I love the Trent McDuffie comp because McDuffie can play slot corner, he can blitz off the edge, he can play hybrid linebacker, you put him all over the secondary, just an impact defensive player. I think Cooper DeJean could become that. I think that'd be a good value play if he falls to number 31. At defensive tackle, there aren't players in this draft class that I would necessarily move mountains for to trade up for. The top prospects, Byron Murphy out of Texas, Braden Fisk out of Florida State, Jerzon Newton out of Illinois, Tavondre Sweat got bopped with the DWI last weekend. I don't think that's a massive concern because he had no character or legal concerns before that. And then Rook Ororo out of Clemson, very athletic player. He's a little bit slender, but he's very quick on the interior. Michael Hall out of Ohio State is a player to keep an eye out for, a player who Larry Krueger really, really likes. I go on the Krug Show every single Friday. Certainly appreciate his football mind. He's one of the best in the business on YouTube. Check his YouTube channel out, Krug Show. Edge rusher trade-up targets. Dallas Turner's going to be off the board. He's going to be a top 10 pick, I believe, depending on how many quarterbacks go in the top 5, in the top 10. So I don't think that he's going to be there, even for a likelihood of San Francisco trading up for a player. It's just not going to happen for Dallas Turner because, again, he's going to be a top 10 pick. Jared Verse could also be a top 10 guy. Latu Latu out of UCLA has some neck issues, but does have some top 30 visits set. So that tells me the medicals are checking out. Extremely productive player in the Pac-12 under Chip Kelly at UCLA. And then Chop Robinson, one of the faster first steps among edge rushers in this draft class. If the Niners go best player available here, Brock Bowers, probably at the top of that list. He's a top 10 overall player in this draft class for me. I think he is an excellent tight end right from the jump. A.D. Mitchell, I think, is going to be the better Texas wide receiver at the pro level compared to Xavier Worthy. If A.D. Mitchell is the best wide receiver in this draft class, it will not surprise me, and you heard that here first. Xavier Worthy, a burner, top 30 visit set. I think he moved himself into the first round after clocking that 4.21 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. And then Brian Thomas, a player who the Niners have shown interest in. Good size, good speed, good hands, all-around wide receiver out of LSU. So those are some players right there who could be worthy of matriculating up the draft board for. Who is your biggest draft crush in this year's class? Let me know by dropping me a name or names down below in the comment section. Join the conversation as always. And as always, thanks for watching the show.